We think that multi-model does a great job at solving a lot of these challenges. And I don't want to give you the expectation that everyone is just ditching their relational databases and all these others and everyone's going to multi-model. That's just not realistic. But what we are seeing is that people are realizing that there's a better way. And as new applications come up and they want to modernize, they're looking at this and they're realizing, wow, we can make dramatic improvements in terms of our infrastructure and our architecture if we start to leverage multi-model solutions. And again, I've just kind of addressed how does it address these. Well, one is it's a single technology to learn. And one of the things that's nice about specifically OrientDB is while we are a NoSQL database, we're based on the SQL language. So almost everyone in the database world is familiar with SQL. And what we want to do is make it as easy as possible for those folks to migrate to these new tools. A lot of other companies out there have their own proprietary language, and you have to learn that language. And our concept is, well, let's try to keep it as simple as possible. So what we do is we just take standard SQL commands, and then we extend them for graph capabilities and for other capabilities. You don't need to choose between technology because now you've got a single database technology that allows you to manage all those different database types in one. And again, this is an ideal world. There's a lot of situations where we have customers that maybe they've got an application, an ERP application like SAP, right, or a CRM like Salesforce, and they're not going to ditch the database behind that, right, because it's built in, but they want to sync it up with another tool. And so we've built what we call Teleporter, and Colin, and the reason I bring it up again is because I had a lot of questions about it before the meeting. And what that allows you to do is with a click, basically pull a relational database into our multi-model database. And then you can take advantage of the different multi-model components. The other thing it allows you to do is keep it synced over time. So a constant an asynchronous, I think it's asynchronous, is that correct, Colin? Yeah. And Colin can, if you got detailed questions about this stuff, Colin will be able to address those. So the benefit is we can stand alone, build an application on it, or we can keep you integrated with your existing systems as well. Thirdly, obviously the reduction in the need for integrations. The fewer databases you're running just makes it easier. Minimizing these ETL processes, syncs, architectural complexity, of course, not having to build API interfaces and code interfaces between different systems. And then agility, and this is a big one. Another customer that we recently brought on was moving off of a legacy relational database. You would all know the name that they've had for 20 years. And one of their biggest challenges is how do we adapt to the changing needs of our business users? And because of the rigidness of those databases, they couldn't do it. Multi-model, and specifically OrientDB, because the way it's architectured allows you to very quickly and easily change the database structure. It's got things like the ability to be flexible with schema. You can have schema, schema lists, or what's the other option, Colin? Schema mixed, in your database. So it's very flexible, and it can all in the same system. So you're not locked into one or the other. And so that was a big driver for them because they knew this was the platform that they were going to be on for the next 20 years, and they didn't want to be locked into something rigid that would not allow them to change as the business requirements changed. 6 is performance at scale, and this is a huge one. We talked about a couple things up front before we got into multi-model. One is data growth, the massive amounts of data. The other is data types. Well, one of the things that OrientDB brings to the table is a distributed architecture. And the concept there is as you scale, you can distribute over clusters horizontally. There's only so much you can scale vertically, and it gets very, very, very expensive very quickly. And so that ability to scale horizontally with a master-master architecture rather than a master-slave architecture makes it very attractive and allows you to have the same performance at scale, at large scale that you would at small scale. And then finally, as we mentioned, single vendor. It just makes that whole procurement and relationship easier. So those are the things that we really think that the whole multi-model concept addresses. And with that, I am going to hand it off to Colin to talk about what is a multi-model database. And what we'd really like to do is have this be a little bit more interactive. I just want to kind of lay the framework for you. And now Colin's going to talk about it and hopefully drive some questions. Okay? Thanks. Yep.